Your support keeps these stories alive. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I was 21 when he broke my heart. It happened on the phone with a kind of cold finality that didn't match the softness of our beginning. He didn't even have the courage to say it in person. Just a call, a few tired words, and the sharp, invisible cut that lingered for years. I remember staring at the dorm ceiling afterward, the popcorn-textured plaster blurring behind tears, thinking, this can't be it. This can't be how we end. But it was. His name still tugs at something in me, not pain exactly, but a dull ache in a place I thought had long since healed. He was my first love, the kind of love that happens when you're young and foolish, when you don't yet understand that love alone isn't always enough. The kind that burns hot and fast, and when it ends, you don't just lose a person, you lose a version of yourself. We met during our sophomore year in college. He was charming in a quiet, self-assured way, not loud or flashy but magnetic. I was drawn to him instantly. He made eye contact like he actually listened, leaned in like your words mattered. We started as friends, late-night study sessions turning into late-night confessions. I knew it was happening before I admitted it to myself. I was falling hard. He wasn't perfect. He had a way of withdrawing sometimes, of drifting into silences that felt loaded. But he made me laugh, challenged me, held me when the world felt too big. When we kissed for the first time, something clicked, like I'd found a missing piece I didn't know I was missing. That was the beginning. For the next 2 years, we were inseparable. We did everything together, crammed for finals, got drunk at terrible college parties, skipped class just to lie under trees and talk about the future. We made plans, shared apartments, road trips, graduate schools, cities we'd live in. We said I love you like it was oxygen. I thought he was it, my person. But somewhere during that final semester, something shifted. He started being distant, canceling plans, making excuses. I thought it was stress. I thought maybe he was scared. We were all scared, about to be spit out into the real world. I made space for him to breathe, thinking he'd come back to me when he was ready. He didn't. Instead, he found someone else. I found out weeks later, not from him, of course, from whispers, friends avoiding eye contact, a casual remark that wasn't so casual, and then the final blow, that phone call. He said it wasn't working, said he needed something different, said he didn't want to hurt me, which, in retrospect, was laughable because he already had. We never spoke again after that. He graduated, I graduated. Life moved on painfully, then quietly. I moved 1,500 miles away for a job, new city, new life, new me, but healing didn't happen in a straight line. There were nights I cried into my pillow, mornings I woke up hoping it had been a dream. And then, over time, the grief softened, got quieter. And one day I realized I hadn't thought of him in weeks. That was the day I knew I was okay. Healing, when it came, didn't announce itself. There was no moment of triumph, no internal confetti falling from the ceiling. It happened slowly, almost imperceptibly, like watching a bruise fade or winter melt into spring. After college, I moved across the country, 1,500 miles away from the dorm rooms, the coffee shops, the sidewalks where we had once walked hand in hand. I told people it was for a job, and it was. But it was also for survival. I couldn't live in a city where every street corner held a memory, every bookstore reminded me of him. I dove into work like it could save me. I got good at staying busy, too busy to dwell. I built a career, a reputation, a version of myself that was sharp, efficient, independent. I made friends. I went on dates. I learned how to laugh again. And then I met someone good, steady, kind. He wasn't fireworks and chaos. He didn't make my heart race in panic or my stomach drop in anxiety. What he gave me was different, a calm, deep, grounded kind of love, one that didn't come with conditions or disappearing acts. He asked how my day was and actually listened. He made me coffee in the mornings. He was there, always there. We built a life, got married, had kids. I watched my daughter sleep in the crib we assembled late one Friday night, and I realized this is what safety feels like. Not drama, not longing, not chasing someone who keeps running away. For years, the memory of my first love was just that, a memory, faded around the edges, almost unreal, like a dream from a life I didn't live anymore. Then came the reunion. I wasn't even going to go. It had been over 2 decades. What was the point? But a few of my closest college friends convinced me, said it would be fun, nostalgic, maybe even healing in some way. And I was curious, I won't lie. Not about him, or so I told myself, but about the girl I used to be. I wanted to see who she had become in their eyes. We were gathered in this big rented lodge-style house, full of laughter and wine and people talking over each other. Someone mentioned, casually, that he was in the next room. I felt it before I heard it, the shift in the air. The way my body tensed, old reflexes waking up like muscle memory. I could have stayed where I was, I could have left, but I didn't. Instead, I walked into the next room. I stepped into the room and there he was. 20-something years older but still unmistakably him. The same eyes, though maybe a little softer, a posture less cocky, more tired. His hair had thinned, his smile didn't come as quickly, but I saw the boy I had loved in the man standing across from me, and I hated that part of me still recognized him. He looked up, startled, and then he smiled. That smile. For a second I was 21 again, unbroken and still foolishly hopeful. "Wow," he said, stepping forward, "you look amazing." I laughed awkwardly. "You too, I mean older but familiar." He chuckled, and just like that, the years between us thinned. We found a quiet corner of the room, away from the noise, and we talked. We talked for over an hour. About nothing and everything, where we lived, what we did, how many kids. I told him about my husband, a gentle man with a dry sense of humor and a gift for folding laundry better than anyone I knew. He told me about his divorces, 2 of them, and the kids he loved more than anything. He didn't say much about the women, just that it hadn't worked out, that maybe he wasn't built for that kind of stability. I felt a pang I didn't expect, sadness, pity, relief, I wasn't sure. At one point he looked at me and said, almost wistfully, "I should have married you." The air in the room changed. I could feel it settle heavier around us. I looked at him carefully and said, "If you had, I would have ended up being your ex-wife." He laughed, then paused. "You think so?" I nodded. Eventually I would have left, for the cheating, for the lies. I was young, but I wasn't stupid. He looked away, then back. "I know I hurt you, I was a mess back then, I didn't deserve you." I smiled, soft but steady. "You broke me, but I got better, I'm happy now." It wasn't said with anger, it wasn't said to wound, it was just the truth. He nodded. "You were the only one who ever loved me like that." That stopped me. For a moment my throat tightened. I didn't know whether to feel proud or ashamed. We hugged before I left, a long, quiet hug that felt like a goodbye, not just to him but to a version of myself I had long since buried. I didn't expect to hear from him again. That one conversation felt like a clean closure, respectful, emotional, finite. But a few days later, there was a message in my inbox. "Still thinking about our conversation, hope you're doing okay." I stared at it for a long time before responding, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I wasn't sure I wanted to start a new thread when the old one had just been gently tied off. But I answered. We talked, sporadically, cautiously, mostly about the past, about mutual friends, college memories, little things that felt safer than the big truths we were circling. Sometimes it felt innocent, other times dangerous. Not dangerous in the romantic sense, I wasn't going to throw away my marriage or uproot my life for a ghost, but dangerous in the way old wounds can reopen if you scratch too long. Nostalgia is tricky like that. It puts a golden filter over the worst moments, erases red flags, romanticizes pain. I had to remind myself, memory is not truth, it's what we choose to remember. One night, I sent him a photo I found while cleaning out the attic. It was old, probably from junior year. He and his friends, shirtless and drunk, arms slung around each other, laughing at something off camera. I remembered taking it. I remembered thinking he looked like mine. His response was almost immediate. "God, I haven't seen that in years, you always kept the good stuff." What I didn't tell him was that after sending the photo, I flipped through the rest of the album. Picture after picture of me and him, arms around each other, dancing, walking, lying on the grass. In every single photo I looked at him like he was the sun, the center of everything. But for the first time, maybe because I'm older now, maybe because the fog of longing had cleared, I noticed something that stopped me cold. He never looked at me the same way. His eyes were smiling, sure, but not seeing, not full of the kind of adoration I had poured into him. It was like discovering a flaw in a painting you'd loved your whole life, one you hadn't seen until you stepped far enough back. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing his voice in my head, "You were the only one who ever loved me unconditionally." And I realized what that really meant. He wasn't missing me, he was missing how it felt to be loved without effort. He missed being the center of someone's world, not because he earned it, but because I gave it freely, blindly, completely. He was nostalgic for my love, not for me. And that's when I knew this wasn't a second chance. It wasn't fate or unfinished business or the great love of my life coming full circle. It was a memory, longing to be forgiven. It's been months now. We haven't spoken again, not out of anger, not even sadness, just completion. There was no final message, no big blowout, just silence that slowly settled like snow on an empty road, peaceful, cold maybe, but clean. I sometimes wonder what he tells himself about me. Does he think I was the one who got away? Does he replay our reunion like a scene in a movie, bittersweet, full of could-have-beens? I'll never know, and I've realized I don't need to. Because I know my version of the story, and that's the only one that matters now. For years, I believed he had taken something from me, my first love, my innocence, my belief that love alone could save anyone. But what I see now is that I gave it all away, willingly, desperately, because I didn't yet know the value of myself. And maybe that's the gift of time, not that it heals everything, but that it changes the way you remember. I look at that old photo now and I don't feel pain. I feel compassion. For the girl I used to be, all heart, all hope, loving with both hands open, and I feel something close to pity for the boy in the picture who didn't know what he was holding. I don't regret that love, but I don't romanticize it anymore either. It wasn't epic, it wasn't soulmates torn apart. It was a young woman loving too much and a young man not ready to be loved that way. It broke me, yes, but not permanently. Because I healed, I built something better. I found someone who sees me, really sees me, someone who shows up, who stays, who doesn't confuse nostalgia with love. I didn't get my fairy tale ending with my first love, but I did get an ending, and I gave it to myself. That in the end is the most powerful kind of closure. Not when someone comes back to say sorry, but when you realize you've moved on without needing them to.